I have Tone Vays on the line with me today. He's the host of Crypto Scam, the Crypto Scam podcast, as well as a contributor to World Crypto Network. His website is libertylifetrail.com. Tone is going to give us a very timely update on Bitcoin. I got a lot of questions to ask him today. Tone, thanks for coming on the line with me today.
Oh, no, thank you very much. Glad to be on the show.
Well, here, let's start here. It would appear that Bitcoin's quote-unquote weakness with its controversy and the community's concerns with the block size debate, and then the kind of the blocking of the ETF that we saw, has been a benefit to some of these other alternative currencies such as Litecoin spiking, Dash, Ethereum taking off. And granted, Bitcoin, went below 1,000, but now is above 1,200 again, last I checked. And, I want to get your thoughts here. Is there any concern for you regarding Bitcoin's future in this?
Not for me, but I can certainly understand why some people would feel like it is. One of the reasons why people feel like it is these alternative coins, the people that believe in those coins and the people that have a lot of value in those coins, they seized the opportunity and were just talking bad stuff about Bitcoin and how it has no governance and how it has all these problems, and talking up their altcoin. And the way I look at it is you have to understand the motives of the people that do that. And most of the time, these people just bought those coins and now they're talking them up just so they can sell them and make more money. So I always try to, when I get into an argument with these people, I always try to find out, do you really believe in that coin's technology? Or is it just a way for you to make more money? And in my experience, 90% of the time, it's just a way for those people to make more money. So I expect all of that value to come back into Bitcoin when Bitcoin, finally starts to scale. I'm still expecting SegWit to be approved, which is one of the points of contention. And I also, on a final note, I see what happens in Bitcoin right now when they say, well, Bitcoin, there's no decision makers, you can't make even a simple change. I see that as a point of strength, not as a point of weakness. Because it's very difficult to make a change to the Bitcoin code and to make changes, it creates a huge level of security where people know that, well, Bitcoin works and we know it's going to work. We don't need to really innovate. It's doing exactly what it's set out to do, which is permissionless value transfer. Might not be the fastest way to do it, may not be the cheapest way to do it, but it sure gets the job done. And that is a lot of security and a lot of confidence, even if nothing changes.
Tone, you mentioned these other alternative currencies being coins that are basically just for the purpose of people making money. But I wonder if that's not a bad thing in particular, especially if they're providing a coin or an infrastructure, a currency, a transaction network that is good, that is better. Because that's the whole point of being profitable, is that you offer something that works and people desire. And to that extent, are these alternative currencies, are some of them better than Bitcoin, and are they positioned to be something that people will ultimately desire?
I don't think so. It's really difficult to even prove or say that any of these coins do anything better than Bitcoin because no one really uses them. They are really only used for speculation and trading. And not only that, they're used for speculation and trading in an unregulated environment. I don't even like trading them. I prefer trading in the regulated environment of the traditional markets. I believe those markets are way more stable. I think they're way more secure. So even though a lot of these coins, they tell you that they do something better than Bitcoin, but if no one uses it, there's no way of knowing. And also, Bitcoin has a huge brand. People know it. Bitcoin has a network of ATM machines. It's easy to get. There was so much investment behind Bitcoin. And right now, I believe that if Bitcoin can't pull it together and Bitcoin falls apart, I believe all of those altcoins will also fall apart because Bitcoin was the rock. It was the most stable one. If it can't do it, I believe that all these coins will be is just for unregulated gambling and trading. No market will ever trust any of them because they're going to look at the confidence and say, Bitcoin couldn't do it. You guys don't have nearly as much as many smart decentralized people programming your coin as Bitcoin did. You have no chance. I see zero confidence in global economics trusting any of those altcoins in absence of Bitcoin.
Tone, there are concerns about Bitcoin's future, as we discussed, and the fact that, one of them just being that it's gone up so much and that it's in a potential bubble. So considering that, there's scared money on the sidelines, and that means that if there's scared money, there's money on the sidelines ready to enter, which means that technically Bitcoin can continue to go higher. And my question to you is, what would be some of the reasons that this money enters the Bitcoin ecosystem, in short order?
Oh, that is a great question. I actually think that Bitcoin is nowhere near a bubble. We saw in 2013, Bitcoin went up 10 times from about $10 to over 200 in just the first quarter of 2013. Then in the last 2 months of 2013, it went up again from $100 to $1,000. It has taken us 3 years to get back to the levels of 2013. And we got there in a fairly steady order. And over the last month or so, there has been a lot of people got scared and exited Bitcoin. And those were the people that only believed in Bitcoin. On top of that, a lot of the players didn't see Bitcoin as making them enough money because it was going up fairly slowly. So those people exited into altcoins, and we saw Ethereum go up about 4 or 5 times. We saw Dash go up 5 or 6 times. Litecoin just went up 3 or 4 times. And those are, Monero went up about 3 times. And Bitcoin didn't even come close to any of that this year. And those were the coins, the altcoins with a large market cap. The coins with a small market cap were up 1,000%. So if there is a bubble in the making, it's all of these altcoins. And now let's talk about the money on the sidelines, because this is important. A lot of people not only exited Bitcoin into cash, people exited Bitcoin into altcoins. And people were kind of scared to get into Bitcoin because I know I've been told I haven't been recommending Bitcoin as a big buy to like people that don't know what's going on. And people are nervous and scared of the scaling debates. And I said this on my podcast, we don't need a resolution to the scaling. We just need the general consensus and people believing that there is going to be a resolution to the scaling sometime later in the year. That's going to bring all of that money back into Bitcoin. I'm gonna say if Bitcoin starts trading at around $3,000 going into the summer, we can then start talking about a potential bubble. But right now, it's been fairly slow and steady, and the price is riding like a wave of worry. The stock market has been doing this for 8 years, and it's the same reasoning I give the stock market. I don't believe we're in a bubble. I think there is still so much money on the sidelines, scared from the 2008 crisis, that they never even went back in, and they're just thinking about it now.
Tone, yeah, it's so hard to know, and that's why a lot of people are just, they throw their hands up and like, I have no idea what's going to happen. But I truly do think Bitcoin is the future, or at least digital currencies, and I'm hedged for, big upwards moves. I'm hoping it goes up. If it does, I'm exposed, and I'll be very happy. And man, I want you to touch on this, because this was pointed out to me in that Magic Money documentary. That obviously Bitcoin is just so revolutionary, and it serves the purpose of both money and payment processing. And I when I heard that, I was just like, wow, it does that. Nothing else does that. You either have something like PayPal or you have something like gold, but nothing serves as both. And just talk about this for a moment, if you would. How big of a deal is this for the future?
It's a huge deal. And honestly, this is what PayPal wanted to do. This is what PayPal wanted to be. But PayPal ran into a problem that they had to work with government. And they weren't able to do that. They had to comply with money laundering regulation. So the only way you can be a payment processor is if you're processing money that you have to, know your customers, and you have to abide by money laundering and look for suspicious transactions. The only way you can even talk about creating a payment processor that allows people censorship-resistant transactions, you have to be able to send non-government money. And not only sending non-government money, you have to be able to send money that you can't technologically censor. And Satoshi realized this. All we're doing is we're sending pieces of data. The revolutionary part of Bitcoin is the fact that you're simply sending a digital message. We've done these for 20 years. Emails, pictures, Microsoft Word documents. The only difference is this time around you hit the send button and you can't get it back. And there's nobody you can call to alter the transaction.
Wow.
And what happened was people immediately realized, well, if this message is fairly immutable and it's fairly censorship resistant or very censorship resistant, I'm going to start using the message itself as value. And that's Satoshi realized this even as he was working on Bitcoin, because someone could have created the system without even realizing that this would be the new decentralized money. But he did. That's why he named the paper peer-to-peer currency, basically, in his white paper, because he realized this would be the use case. And it is a use case. Another way to really make people think about it is, for the first time in human history, you can own something that no one else has the ability to take away from you. Not physically, not digitally, assuming Bitcoin continues to do what we think it's going to do. Everything you've ever owned has always, someone with a bigger gun can always take away from you, including like your body and your person.
Sure.
It's pretty much just your thoughts. But your thoughts, you can monetize your thoughts, but then other people have to know what they are in order for you to monetize them. Now there's actually something of value that you can possess, and no one knows you possess it because the password is in your head, and no one can take that away from you.
Tone, I was just sitting there just chewing on that information. It's really breakthrough technology, and kind of going along the censorship line here. I read this, and it was the news that Bitcoin is now being, and I'm going to say this in quotes, recognized by Russia. And when I first heard that, I was like, oh, what does this mean? Are they, going to use it as a form of currency, something like that? But really, I wonder if it's more along the lines of, hey, you know, we're concerned about how popular Bitcoin's getting, and, you know, people may not be paying their taxes, and they're, you know, they don't want to trade rubles. So we're gonna recognize Bitcoin now and potentially crack down on it.
Yeah, I mean, these stories come up every few weeks from different countries all over the world. Taxes are going to be an issue. They are, because as the technology of the world improves, we're already seeing governments going after tax havens, the Caribbean, the Swiss banks. That's always going to be a problem. And Bitcoin will help people looking to, you know, park some of their value in ways that can't be confiscated. The way to fight it, and perhaps Trump is on his way to doing that, the way to fight it is not to go after Bitcoin. I mean, look what's happened. We've been fighting the drug war for 40 years. What did it achieve, and how much did it cost?
Right.
Fighting Bitcoin is going to have the same problem and the same result until eventually you give up fighting and you start legalizing. The way to fight if the government is upset that people are using Bitcoin to evade taxes, the solution for government is to lower taxes and make it simpler for people to comply with the tax law.
Yep, make it competitive, right?
Right.
So
that would actually be, and in a way, that would be unfortunate for Bitcoin, right? Because I think if the government starts to crack down and increases taxes, more people would use Bitcoin to avoid taxes.
Sure.
So if you're holding Bitcoin, you are financially aligned to be for a crackdown on taxes. You should be aligned for, you know, harsher laws on drugs, because Bitcoin could be used to route value to purchase those drugs. So it becomes this weird dynamic where, yes, I would like for the government to remove all money laundering laws because I don't believe money is a crime, but that also means that I want this, but the value of my Bitcoin will probably not go up as fast if they're actually going to do that.
Mm-hmm. Coinbase put out some research, and they believe that there's somewhere between 2.9 million and 5.8 million unique users actively using a cryptocurrency wallet. And we also have found out through Coinbase's research that they said 10 million people around the world hold a material amount of Bitcoin. And going back to that tax situation, in 2015, the IRS says there was about 802 people that reported Bitcoin on their taxes. And considering that was the year that, you know, or I mean, with Bitcoin moving as much as it did, they were kind of expecting more people to report that in their taxes. And I can see it being a problem, and more of a problem, as people use this anonymous currency, and the government's like, hey, where's our cut?
Okay, so this is where I haven't seen those statistics, but this is where Coinbase may be doing a bit of a disservice, because when you estimate wallets, and this is the issue with Bitcoin, you can hold Bitcoin anonymously. So I can hold all my Bitcoin in one wallet where Coinbase may count me as one user, or I can break it up into 1,000 wallets in order not to hold everything in one place. And they're all anonymous. And those statistics might count that as 1,000 different people. So when the IRS sees that only 800 people reported Bitcoin, obviously a lot of people didn't report it. But that doesn't mean that 1 million Americans had Bitcoin and only 800 reported it. It's possible that only 10,000 Americans had Bitcoin, but some of them were holding it in so many different accounts in order, you know, to spread their liabilities around. So this is where that statistics could be a little tricky. But yeah, if I was the IRS, I'd be very mad also. Mm-hmm. But the problem is the complicated tax laws and high taxes. The problem isn't people have always tried to get around taxes. I always say, like, some people try to avoid this issue, and they say, it's your patriotic duty to pay your taxes. And I say, well, it's your patriotic duty to pay the least amount of taxes you can legally get away with, because I don't like what the government does with most of my taxes that I pay them.
Right. Well, and if most people, and I don't know what most people do, are like me, getting into Bitcoin, I'm not looking to trade it. I'm looking to buy it and hold it and see what happens with it. Yeah, sure, some people are using it and just staying in Bitcoin. They're purchasing things with Bitcoin, using it as their money, but not necessarily going from Bitcoin to US dollar. And that's when you create a taxable transaction, of course, is when you have you buy a Bitcoin for 13 and it goes to 100. Now you have a capital gains if you go back into US dollars. But if you stay in Bitcoin, there's no capital gains. You were just in Bitcoin. So I'm sure there's a lot of that going on, because I'm sure a lot of people aren't going in and out of Bitcoin. But maybe you'll have a little more insight than I do on that.
Well, again, I'm not an accountant, but yes, as long as you hold it in Bitcoin and don't sell it, you're fine. But the moment you use that Bitcoin to buy goods and or services, then you convert that to whatever the price of the good and service was, and then you got to do the capital gains on the difference from the Bitcoin that you bought it at. The other issue is, if you bought your Bitcoin from something like Coinbase, like you said, for $13, and it sat in Coinbase as it gained all that value, you now want to keep it in Bitcoin, but move it out of Coinbase. You just want to hold it yourself.
Right.
That's a bit of a problem, because once you move it to yourself, it becomes anonymous Bitcoin, because you don't need to have your name on it. But the moment it leaves Coinbase, they have to assume you sold it to a stranger or you moved it to someone else. So they can report that as a taxable event. And then you have to go and prove that, no, you did not sell your Bitcoin. You still have it. And this becomes a big problem, because it's very difficult to prove that you didn't do something.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Tone, when it comes to blockchain,
one thing as a mother, I know
blockchain future
with my girls is I'm not going to be.
Sorry about that. When it comes to blockchain future and the future of, we always think, or at least I always think of money, digital currencies, and I'm just wondering, maybe you can give us some insight how much bigger blockchain technology is for the future of the world. I mean, what other areas is it going to open up beyond money? Because I know you hear it all the time now. They're investing in the blockchain. The blockchain is going to revolutionize things. But how is it going to do that, and where will it be applied?
To be honest with you, I don't think it will. I find it very difficult to believe that it's going to move beyond money. I really, really do. I've been saying this for a long time. I thought that, blockchain in financial services was crazy. Blockchain for real estate, blockchain for healthcare. I mean, they keep coming up with crazier and crazier ideas for the blockchain. And to me, it makes absolutely no sense. The blockchain, to me, is this proof of work, decentralized digital message transfer system. And the most important property that it creates is this censorship-resistant bearer asset. So a bearer asset, the government used to sell bearer bonds. I don't know if you saw the old movie with Bruce Willis, with Die Hard, where they were trying to get these bearer bonds. Basically, they're government bonds, but there's no name on them. They're unregistered. There are US government bonds. They don't exist anymore because they realized that, whoa, we don't know who has the money. But whoever has these government bonds for like the next 30 years, they're like sending the government a coupon and the government has to pay them interest on it, but they have no clue who they're paying. So Bitcoin created this situation for the digital age where you have this bearer asset that no one knows who owns it, and whoever controls it owns it. This is not what you want in real estate. You want to know who owns the house. You don't want to accidentally send your house to the neighbor, right? And now your neighbor owns the house, the deed to your house. You don't want to have your records on the blockchain, your medical records, because what if you accidentally delete your entire medical history? These are the kinds of things that the blockchain has given us. They have given us the ability to own something in a way that nobody can take away, and in a way that you are in control of who owns it and nobody else. These aren't exactly the properties that you want, that someone else needs to verify, that someone else needs to see, and it's not something that you want the responsibility of losing. So when I apply my definition of a blockchain, it really doesn't work in these first world countries. Now, if we're talking a country where that's always under siege and you don't trust the government with your records and you don't need the government to recognize your records, then maybe there is some use case there. But in a first world country like US and Europe and Australia, Japan, Canada, I really don't see a big use case for a blockchain. They just need, a database. Call Estonia, get some of their database people. They seem to have their entire country digitalized. That's what they need. We just need, better databases to handle all this stuff and cut down on paperwork. They don't need to create better asset out of real estate deeds.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And maybe the blockchain serves its best purpose with digital currency. I mean, you need something to protect your money, and the blockchain, it's so fascinating the more I get to know it. Tone, let's just talk about Bitcoin's size now. I mean, we're $1,200, over $1,200, times the 16 million Bitcoins outstanding. I mean, we got a $19 billion market cap at the moment. It sounds like a lot, but when you start comparing it to the stock market, the real estate market, the bond market, these are all into the trillions. I mean, what could the Bitcoin ecosystem look like? How much value do you see entering Bitcoin in this market cap? I mean, is it going to 100 billion and 500 billion, then one day a trillion, in your opinion?
I think so. I believe that it can. There's still technical issues that need to be resolved. We all would want to see it, but if that starts to happen tomorrow, I think we're all in trouble. I mean, the Bitcoin ecosystem can only handle so much at a time. And when the system gets stressed, bad things can happen. And we saw this with the .com, right? With the NASDAQ. The value of the NASDAQ and the tech stocks went to 5,000 points on the NASDAQ in 2000. The next time we crossed 5,000 points was last year. I mean, think about that, right? I mean, look at what Netflix has done, what eBay has done, what Amazon has done, what Apple has done, Microsoft in the last 15 years. And it took 15 years to get back to the height of the 2000 tech bubble. So this is what happens when the system gets overhyped and expectations grow too much. So we do have to be careful. If too much money enters Bitcoin now, it may be even more difficult to scale it because then more people will have an opinion on how to do it.
Wow. So
we do need to scale. We do need to get SegWit in there. I'm a big supporter of SegWit. We do need to, we'll need another year or two to get, these off-chain Lightning channels that can handle thousands of transactions a second, maybe even way more than that, hundreds of thousands of transactions a second. And then we can be more comfortable with all this value entering Bitcoin. Now, as far as the value entering Bitcoin, yeah, there's a lot of money that will be interested in something like Bitcoin. In addition, the value of a Bitcoin has to go up in order to continue to provide the security of Bitcoin. Right now, there is a mining reward of 12.5 Bitcoins, and that's going to be cut in half in about 3 years. So in 3 years, the mining reward is going to be a little over 6 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. But it'll cost you more and more to mine that Bitcoin because the difficulty of mining that Bitcoin is only going higher so far. So that also means that in order for Bitcoin ecosystem to remain sustainable, that mining reward has to be greater than it is today. So Bitcoin has to at least double of its current price in 4 years and probably be at least 4 times bigger in order for that mining network to continue doing what it's doing.
Sure.
And then it's going to get cut again another 4 years. So over the next 20 years at least, I'm expecting the value of Bitcoin to go up even without mass entry of users coming in, just in order to keep mining sustainable, like just internal demand.
Hey, Tone, those are some great closing thoughts right there. I want to thank you for your time today. Thank you for coming on the show. I know we tried to do this interview a little while ago, but the file got corrupted. But hey, thanks for coming on the line. If people want to learn more about what you do and what the services that you're running, please let them know a little bit more about them.
Sure. So I'm fairly active on Twitter. You can find me as Tone Vays on Twitter, ToneVays. My website is libertylifetrail.com, and I cross-post all of my work there. I have numerous podcasts. I do a podcast about economic and trading twice a week, usually Sundays and Wednesdays. I have my own podcast, Crypto Scam, where I dig deep into many of the projects in the crypto space and even outside the crypto space with a skeptical eye. I'm also on the World Crypto Network, where we have a Friday podcast talking about the latest news in Bitcoin. And I also run a podcast there called On the Record, which is similar to your podcast here on Crush the Street, where I interview some of the leading experts and, again, try to be skeptical about their projects and ask them really tough questions, try to get them to convince me that their project is worth using. Other than that, I am also a consultant for private individuals or companies. And I like that job. It keeps me mobile. It allows me to travel the world and still be able to earn money. And also, I speak at a lot of conferences. So if you Google my name, just look for conferences in your area. I speak at about 20, 25 conferences a year globally, all over the world. So I try to go around. Ever since quitting Wall Street about 2 years ago, it's been great. I really enjoy just working for myself. That
is so cool. And any notable conferences you're going to be speaking at in the future here?
We're working on a few. I'm trying to think. No, going into the summer, I spoke at a lot earlier in the year. Nothing coming up. There's going to be an awesome conference in October, maybe not finalized yet, Latin American Bitcoin conference. It's going to take place in Colombia this year, which is great. A couple of conferences. There's one in Kazakhstan that's asking me to come and speak there. It's a blockchain event. Oh, wait, there is a conference coming up here in New York. It's a conference for Wall Street, actually, teaching them about what blockchain is. That's going to take place on May 3rd to May 5th in downtown Manhattan, and I'll be speaking there. I think my presentation there is about, actually what is a blockchain. So I'll be at that one. It's Quintech. If you Google, if you Google blockchain conferences in New York, you'll find it.
Sure.
But yeah, it's everything is random. Everything is it's the Bitcoin space. Things move very, very quickly.
Of course. Well, hey, man, I look forward to following the markets, and I look forward to a future discussion. We're going to have, for everyone that's still on the line here listening, we're going to be doing a Bitcoin roundtable here shortly. Tone is going to be part of it, and Trace Mayer, as well as Dave Scotese, who've all been on the show before. So, Tone, thanks for coming on the line with me today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you very much. Glad to be on.